a good battle, friend.
I will have a good battle because patch 17.2 is here. It landed yesterday. The days of the week are really starting to blend together. Yes, I know.
Oh my God, so much.
I already work from home, but seriously,
it's because everything else is canceled, so you don't have anything like marking the days of the week anymore.
Nope. And yeah, so I guess I'm marking it with patch days, which are usually Tuesday. So, but not always. Sometimes it's Thursdays for some reason. I can't. Basically,
it doesn't help matters.
No, it doesn't. But 17.2 dropped yesterday, and the big bulk of this patch is a sizable update to Battlegrounds. So first up, on the subject of minions, we all need to pour one out, but like not anything really nice. Maybe like a juice box or some poorly mixed Kool-Aid, because Direwolf Alpha is leaving, and I don't think anyone will notice.
Yeah, it was a pretty bad tavern offering if I ever picked Direwolf Alpha. Like, some things went wrong.
Yeah, if I were to eulogize Direwolf Alpha, I would say we've all been forced to be there.
Oh, poor Direwolf Alpha.
Direwolf Alpha.
Remember when he was like the core of zoo decks and aggro decks alike, and everyone loved him, and then, we got expansions.
Yeah. But I don't remember when he was ever the core of anything in Battlegrounds.
No, not at all. Just, I guess he had his day, but that day was not a Battleground day.
Direwolf Alpha. Sometimes I would pick you over Tidecaller.
Oh, it's so true. Poor guy. Poor little guy.
Yeah, but make way for a much more exciting tier 1 minion. We are getting the Rabid Sora Liske, a tier 1 beast with 3 attack and 1 health. So not going to hold up very well to those early game token purchases, but can very quickly get out of that 1 health range, because it reads, after you play a minion with Death Rattle, gain +1/+1. The golden version is a 6/2 that gains +2/+2 after you play a Death Rattle minion. And I am smitten, Jocelyn.
I tried this minion a couple of times, and it's like I wanted it to work, but I could never really get it to work.
Okay. So I had a very specific experience since the patch yesterday. I have gotten probably, I think in the last 24 hours and change, I have doubled the amount of Dance and Daryl games that I have played over the entire course of Battlegrounds existence. I have gotten Daryl offered to me so many freaking times. And if you are a fan of HS3 play like we are, if you go over look at their stats, that Dance and Daryl, ever since Millhouse got nerfed, has been the #1 hero, which means I pick him every time because I'm soulless and I just want to win and get my MMR up. I don't actually care about having fun. This minion is insane with Dance and Daryl because you're constantly buying everything and then reselling it. So even if it doesn't matter if you are making a good Death Rattle comp or not, you're likely buying every damn Death Rattle minion you come across once you're past tier 4 to do your dance. So
yeah,
why not have a Sora Liske? Not to mention that all of the best tier 2 minions are Death Rattle minions, even if you're not Dance and Daryl. You're going to be drafting the Spawn of the Zoth. Is it Kaboombot? I always forget the bomb one.
Yeah, Kaboombot.
It's Kaboombot.
And then,
okay.
yeah.
I just call them
and Rat Pack, obviously.
The bomb. And Rat Pack, yes. You're always, that's what you want. If things are going well for you at tier 2, those are the minions you're drafting Death Rattle minions. So Rabid Sora Liske can be really good, which my kind of gut reaction was, did tier 2 Death Rattle really need like an upside? But it's a little, you're probably going to lose your first 2 rounds if you draft Rabid Sora Liske, hoping that you're going to be drafting into Death Rattle minions once you tavern up to 2, right? Because it's a 3/1. It's going to die to literally anything anyone drafts.
And I mean, the the flip side of that too is that because, and at least in my experience, this is why I had not so great games with him, is because those tier 2 minions that you talked about are just kind of the objective best of the tier, which means I was finding it really hard to find them. Like I had so many rounds today where I just could not even get my hands on a spawn, and I'd have, a Rat Pack or, a Kaboom Bot. And Kaboom Bot, I think, is the best just on his own, but if you can't get a spawn, Rat Pack is not that great if you can't buff him up in any way, shape, or form. So, which you can't even do now that Direwolf is gone, right? Like, that could be, oh my God, I got to do something. I guess I'll take Direwolf to get another token off my little Rat Pack dude. But
well, we still have Fiendish Servant, which works really well with Rat Pack in the early game, and Rat Pack is still, I believe, statistically. HS Replay has been.
Rat Pack is still gross.
Yeah,
I think
number one. Yeah, at that stage of the game, it's just the best, like hands down. So. But
I think a lot of people are going for those, so it's not like every single time that I re-rolled my tavern or had minions offered to me that there were death rattles available. So I kind of I went in and I was like, okay, I'm gonna try the new minion, it's gonna be so cool, and then I was like, oh man, I got it up to 3 health.
my best games with it have been games where I have drafted it after turn 1. It's a little hard to do right now because I think a lot of people are just trying to try it out, see what they can make happen with it. But this is a bad tier 1 draft. But I had was it a Rafam game? I think it was a Rafam game where I wasn't taverning up to 2 on turn 2 anyway because I'm Rafam. And so I grabbed a Soralisk on turn 2, and then I found a second Soralisk, and I just went on a Death Rattle Bender because these things were growing in Unity, and they just got huge. I think I also I think I had a double Soralisk game with Daryl, and that was one of the easiest second places I ever got. Still couldn't beat Poisonous Murlocs because what are you gonna do when someone blindly drafts Murlocs and it just works out for them?
Yeah, I've seen so many people going Murlocs today. I tried it once and I totally screwed it up halfway through because I had my 6-tier Discover and I had the Murloc offered to me, the 8/4 shield guy, and also the Megasaur, and I had a board full of Murlocs. I should have gone Megasaur, but I just snap picked the Murloc, and I was as soon as I did it, I was oh, there was a Megasaur there. Damn it. And then sure enough, I never had anything with Divine Shield or another Megasaur offered to me, and I was son of a bitch.
I would berate you.
Stupid Murloc.
But I have been there. It's a gut react because Murlocs never works out for me. Murlocs never works out for me. I never get it. So when I do see Megasaur, I'm not Murloc, so I skip it. My gut physical just reflex is to go for the mackerel because it's just worth it. Even if I don't currently have Divine Shield, it's I guess I'm going to pick one up and make this work. It's totally worth it.
Where's that little 2/1 dragon dude?
Exactly. Love me, the Bronze Warden. Love it. How could I not remember Kaboom Bot, but I can remember Bronze Warden? I don't know. Yes, I am the reverse grip Hemwick. I will not draft Murlocs. It never works out. So, anyways, really like Rabid Sarlisk. I, at the moment, would not recommend drafting it on turn 1, but after that point, go nuts. Win your first couple of turns, or at least set yourself up for the best chance of it, and then start grabbing these guys up because they grow very consistently. There's just enough. I think there's enough Death Rattle minions at the end of the day. And you want to be drafting them. Really dig it.
Yeah. I think my mistake too was that I didn't really choose a comp. I was I'll try Death Rattle comp, but that's not very strong. So I think you should be trying to buy Death Rattle minions, but not build a comp around it. Still be using the Death Rattles to put a body on board and buff your Sarlisk, but then, don't be afraid to cycle them out and pick something actually functional.
Yeah. But let's talk about the heroes. Lady Vash's hero power is called Evolving Electricity. It's a passive hero power that reads, after you upgrade Bob's Tavern, replace his minions with ones of a higher tier. And I definitely misunderstood how this worked.
Me too, because I assumed that it would replace all the minions with minions of a higher tier than what you had just tiered up to. So I thought like when I went to 2, it would replace my tavern with 3 minions, like tier 3 minions. And then when I went to 3, it would replace my whole tavern with 4 minions. And I was just like, when that didn't happen, I was like, what is going on? And then I was like, oh, it just increases each tier by 1. I don't think it's very strong. I didn't have a lot of luck with it. I really tried to manipulate it the second time that I played. Like I froze things I wouldn't have otherwise frozen because I just wanted them for the fact that they were the highest tier minions that were available to me. And I knew that I was going to be upgrading next turn, but I think that because they're random. So I found that every time I upgraded the minions that I was offered, I was just like, oh man, I don't want any of these anyways. And it's like, that's my hero power. Like that's what I do. But because she doesn't give them any kind of buff or anything else, I was just like, man, I was just falling behind with her all the time.
I share a lot of your same feelings. I think this is of the 3 might be the weakest. There's a clear winner in my mind. But yeah, the first time I played Lady Vash, when I taverned up, well, I guess that would have been true every single time. Never mind. When you taverned up to 2, your only option is going to be tier 1 minions, right? So I taverned up and everything was 2-star like immediately, whatever minions were left. Because, by the way, it doesn't refill. If you bought a minion and then you tavern up, you don't get an extra minion. Like if there are only 3 minions,
yeah, it's not a refresh
in Bob's Tavern, and you tavern up, you only re-roll 3 minions.
Yeah,
it doesn't add
and
more.
They only go up to the tier that you just leveled to. Like you can't, you don't have a 3 and have a chance to roll a 6. Like if you have a 3 and you upgrade the tavern, it goes to 4.
Yes.
Like it doesn't do any crazy big. There's no potential super high roll. It's just like you immediately get access to minions of that higher tavern tier that you just leveled to. So yeah, it was a lot. It didn't work the way I thought it worked. And then once I realized how it did work, I was like, I can't manipulate this to actually be like impact my game in any real meaningful way.
Right. Yeah, this is what I was trying to explain is I didn't even get it the first time I used the damn hero power because the first time you use it, you're always going to have 1-star minions. So you're going to use it. So you're always going to get an entire board of 2-star minions. So my brain went, okay, so it's not a tavern above. It's whatever you just re-rolled to. And then when I taverned up to tier 3, I had a mix of tier 1 and 2 minions, and the 1-stars went the 2-stars and the 2-stars went the 3. And I was like, what the shit?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that was how it worked. So which
then gets worse and worse as you get more and more minions in your tavern and as you've leveled up to more and more tiers, because that means that you have a chance to later on in the game have, 1 and 2-star minions when you level up to like 5 and 6, and they only roll up to 2 and 3. They don't roll up to 5 and 6.
Yeah,
so
there's like
you have to be very careful when you like tavern up to get the most out of it, and even then, like the most is not very much.
Yeah, I mean, there's outliers, right? Like if you're looking for a 2 or a 3 or 4 for a triple for a minion that's actually good, then you can kind of target that if there's a minion or multiple minions.
But even then, like
below. Right. No, but so it is very interesting because the way that you start to think about the game, like it completely changes the way you think about your reroll strategy, because so often we are locked into the mindset of, oh, I found a triple. Am I going to tavern up next turn? I'll just freeze it. I'll wait till next turn. I'll tavern up. I'll buy the minion, get the triple into something from a tier even higher. And then that like goes all out the freaking window when you're playing Vash. But let's move on and talk about Maiev, because Maiev Shadow Song is the second of the 3 new heroes we're getting, and Maev's hero power is Imprison. It's going to cost you 1 gold to use it, and it reads, make a minion in Bob's Tavern dormant. After 2 turns, get it with +1/+1. This one is also deeper than it initially sounds. So you're essentially getting a minion for 1 gold with a +1/+1 buff, with the downside of you have to wait 2 full turns before you can actually get it, but you are getting a 2 gold discount with a buff. The other part about this,
like you don't have to freeze it, which was something that I was like, wait, how does this actually work? Does it? And so it takes up a spot on your board. It counts as one of your minions, but but you don't have to worry about like keeping your board frozen or anything like
Bob's
that.
board,
or
not your board.
Sorry, Bob's board.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you know what I mean.
The tavern.
The tavern. Yeah, you don't have to worry. Like it will just stay there and wait for you until all of a sudden it just pops into your hand after 2 turns, which at first I didn't kind of realize that's what it did. Like I knew that I would get it, but for some reason I thought it would just like pop onto my board or something. So it popped into my hand and I was like alt tabbed out and I was just like, I came back to Hearthstone. I was like, hey, where did my high main go? God damn it.
I love that you assumed this worked in the worst possible way it could have. If you had to freeze, this would be unplayable. And if it went to your board, that would also be unplayable. Like all the battle card minions go out the door and what the shit happens if you have 7 minions.
I know. I'm aware that
really important like caveat to this, which is it again takes up a minion slot on Bob's board.
Yes.
So yes, it does persist even through a reroll to the next turn, but it takes up a slot for a minion. It's not so, and it's sitting there for 2 turns.
Yeah.
So it's something you need to keep in mind as well, because you're going to be missing out on one more potential roll of a minion.
Yeah. You have less options, which is rough.
Rerolling or for one full just natural reroll by waiting turns. So this is another one that is like way more complex than it sounds. Like when I first read it, I was just like, huh, what do you mean get it? And it's like, oh, you just get it. So like you're getting a minion for gold, but you have to wait forever to get it. But I kind of like this one. I like this one quite a bit. And this one was like the opposite of the triple feels bad. This was kind of a triple feels good, because how many times, Jocelyn, have you been like, oh, I got so lucky. I re-rolled and there's 2 of a kind and I already have 1 of that minion, but I don't have enough gold to buy them both right now. And I would kind of rather wait to tier up to actually find the triple. This is a little too early for that triple. Well, you know what? Maybe in 2 turns, it's the perfect time to get this triple. And I might as well add a +1/+1 to this for my trouble. That's exactly what you can do with this. I love it.
Yeah, it is a little bit more strategic. I only got a chance to play with her once and I didn't quite, I couldn't quite wrap my head around her at first, because it felt like I wasn't necessarily, I guess I wasn't thinking ahead far enough. And, by the time I kind of got a hang of it, then I was like, well, I've got a ton of gold. Like I'm all the way at 10 gold now. +1/+1 isn't what it was early on in the game. And yeah, so I feel like if I got her again, I think I would have a better time of it. But she, again, is another hero that makes you think differently about the game that you're playing, which I think makes her super interesting. I think she has the potential to be really powerful. Just because you're getting, like, if nothing else, you're getting a body for 1 gold, right? So
yeah, and it's a pretty strong way to use that straggling gold, which it's not great when you're floating a gold. But sometimes you do get into that scenario, so it's a nice extra thing you can do. But I really like its potential for saving a triple for 2 more turns when you would want to tavern up, or when you even have the gold to tavern up. And then finally, couldn't be more stoked about this one. Kaelthas Sunstrider has joined Battlegrounds with a passive hero power named Verdant Spheres, because of course, what the hell else would he have?
Exactly.
Sunfire enchantment? Actually, I love that talent in Heroes of the Storm. But Verdant Spheres is a passive hero power that reads every 3rd minion you buy gains +2/+2. This shit is bananas.
Yeah, he's quite powerful. And I wasn't really sure how they were going to track this, but of course they made 3 green balls that just light up as, you're going to be, or like as you're buying minions. And then it's very easy to tell which one is going to be buffed. And then, you pull it into your hand and it's got this cool 3 green ball swirly animation that then goes and buffs the minion in your hand. So it's pretty well designed. I like it a lot. It's powerful for sure. You're basically being rewarded with +2/+2 for doing what you would be doing in the game anyway. So you don't really have to do any. It's a lot like Nozdormu in that way, where it's like you're refreshing anyways. Just, you get a free one with him. It's like this guy, like you're buying minions anyways. Well, you get a free buff every 3rd minion. So yeah, it works really well. It's powerful. I played him a couple times and he is definitely the easiest to manage of the 3. He's the most straightforward.
Yeah. Yeah. And oh god, when a rat pack gets to be the third minion you buy.
Yeah.
It's so good. It's so freaking good. It just works. Like, this makes sense. You kind of already understand how to game it. Again, I think this is the type of hero that we are going to find ways to alter the tempo of how quickly we level up and whatnot to sync up some of our third purchases in targeted areas. But this one just works. This is the one that on paper, when I saw this announcement, was like, ooh, I think this might be the most powerful. And having played all three of them certainly feels the most powerful to me. And also with you, hat tip to the interface designers, because the three glowing actual verdant spheres being a UI element to keep track of, if you're on your third minion or not, that looks great. I wasn't expecting it. I haven't really seen anything like that in Hearthstone's UI before. I really dig it.
Yeah, the only other thing that we've seen would be, I would say, is it Shinvala, the mage minion, that as you, is it play elementals or cast spells, or maybe it's cast spells, has those like three little like ticks underneath, or like little crystal triangle looking things underneath the minion on the board. That's, I think, the closest I can think of a tracking thing. And Triago in the chat room is asking, do the spheres track across turns or does it have to be one turn? It does track across turns. So it's just the third minion you buy, regardless of what turn that happens on. It's just like every third minion, like buff.
So of the three, like Maya of Shadow Song kind of just works the way you would expect. It kind of works the best way it possibly could work. Kael'thas works the best way it could possibly work. And Lady Vash kind of works the worst way it could possibly work. In my mind, in reading it, like Kael'thas was like the most straightforward without a doubt. While reading it, I just assumed like it has to persist between turns, otherwise this would be kind of booty. This wouldn't be the best hero power. But all in all, I think a rather phenomenal Battlegrounds update. I will say, little light.
Yeah, I think we talked about back, I guess, around the time that Battlegrounds launched, that you kind of need updates to be happening quite often so that the mode doesn't get stale. And I think that this feels like at least one of the longest points of time in Battlegrounds where we've, had the same sort of stuff, and nothing that was really introduced in this update, whether it be the minion or the three heroes or the removal of Direwolf, like none of them are nearly as impactful as dragons, right? So I feel like if they needed to break up the bigger update in order to keep things fresh by like giving us like kind of like trickling out updates over like every 2 to 3 weeks, then I'm totally cool with that too. We'll just have to see what they've got in store, but I would be really surprised if we go another like 6 weeks without, seeing something big in Battlegrounds. Cause you're right. Like this did seem quite small and took quite a while to get to us. So.
Yeah. So, which I'd be fine with. This was the longest lull we've had with Battlegrounds, so a few more kind of modest-sized updates, a little more spread out, I think would go a long way to keep Battlegrounds interesting. So hopefully that ends up being the case. But anyways, I'm sure we'll talk more about Battlegrounds and how the meta is unfolding. We'll definitely do a check-in next week.